Most people are completely blind to what is actually happening behind the scenes of their own lives. You think you are just tired. You think you are just having a bad week. You think you just lack motivation. But what if I told you that you are being actively dismantled? What if the laziness you feel right now is not even yours? Most people will scroll past this. They will go right back to their comfortable, slow destruction. But if you are still here, if you can feel that strange, quiet heaviness sitting on your chest right now, then listen to me very carefully. You are standing on the edge of something far bigger than you realize. The year 2026 is not waiting for you to wake up. Time is moving with a terrifying speed. Every single second you spend distracted, every hour you waste staring at a screen, seeking cheap dopamine. You are surrendering your territory. You are letting invisible forces write the story of your defeat. I want you to stop everything you are doing. Put down your phone. Look around the room. Feel the air in your lungs. Ask yourself one honest question. Who is actually in control of your mind right now? Is it you, or is it the noise? For years, I lived in total darkness. I know what it feels like to sit in a cold, quiet room at 2 in the morning, staring at the ceiling, wondering why every attempt to change your life falls apart. I know what it feels like to make promises to yourself in the morning only to break them by sunset. It feels like a curse, doesn't it? It feels like no matter how hard you push, an invisible wall pushes back harder. You see, I spent years observing the mechanisms of human destruction. I saw how easily a person's soul can be quieted, how easily a fire can be extinguished, not with a sudden flood, but with a slow, steady drip of compromise. A little more sleep, a little more distraction, a little more comfort, until one day you wake up 10 years later and you are a stranger to yourself. You look in the mirror, and the eyes looking back at you have no spark left, just empty survival. That is the scariest place a human being can end up. Not broken-hearted, but completely empty while still breathing. Most people think discipline is about going to the gym when you don't feel like it. They think it's about waking up at 5 in the morning and drinking cold water. That is child's play. That is just the surface. What I am talking about today is something entirely different. I am talking about a level of discipline that borders on the terrifying. A discipline so absolute, so silent, and so cold that it destroys every spiritual attack, every mental addiction, and every piece of generational weakness attempting to hold you down. When you reach this level, you don't scream. You don't announce your moves. You don't post your goals on social media for cheap validation. You go completely ghost. You become invisible to the noise and absolute poison to your enemies. Do you feel that shift in the room right now? That is truth breaking through the noise. Let me tell you a story. A story about a man who lost everything before he understood this secret. He was talented. He had vision. He had people around him who cheered for him. But he had one lethal flaw. He talked too much and he felt too much. Every time he had a brilliant idea, he showed his cards. Every time he felt a wave of anger or sadness, he acted on it immediately. He let his emotions drive the vehicle of his life. One evening, everything collapsed. His business failed. The people he thought were his brothers turned their backs on him in a single night. He was left in a small, dark apartment with nothing but the sound of his own breathing and a pile of overdue bills. The silence in that room was deafening. It felt like a trap. He wanted to scream. He wanted to reach out to anyone who would listen and beg for help. But something inside him whispered, "Stay still." For 3 days, he did not speak to a single soul. He did not check his phone. He sat in that silence and confronted the dark spiritual reality of his failure. He realized he hadn't been defeated by circumstances. He had been defeated because his spirit was soft. He was reacting to every breeze, every insult, every temptation, every passing thought. He had zero spiritual armor. It was in that dark, quiet room that he unlocked the scariest level of discipline. He decided that from that day forward, his life would no longer be dictated by how he felt. He decided that his mind would become a fortress, cold, quiet, and absolutely impenetrable. Within 6 months, without making a single announcement, he rebuilt everything. But he didn't just rebuild his bank account. He rebuilt his presence. When he walked into a room, people stopped talking. They couldn't explain why, but they felt an immense weight in his aura. He didn't speak unless it was necessary. He didn't explain himself. He moved like a shadow, unstoppable and quiet. He had shifted from being prey to becoming a master of his own reality. Are you ready to make that shift? Or do you prefer the comfortable pain of staying weak? Listen closely, because this is where most people get it completely wrong. They think that to be disciplined, you need more energy. You need more hype. You need to listen to loud music and get excited. Wrong hype is cheap. Motivation is an emotion, and emotions are chaotic. If you rely on how you feel to get things done, you have already lost. The spiritual realm operates on law, not feelings. Dark forces do not care about your emotional outbursts. In fact, they feed on them. They want you angry, they want you anxious, they want you desperate. Because an emotional human being is an easily manipulated human being. When you learn to separate your identity from your temporary feelings, something terrifying happens to your atmosphere. You stop leaking energy. Think about how much power you lose every day just by reacting. Someone cuts you off in traffic and you ruin your entire morning. Someone leaves a negative comment and you think about it for 3 days. A plan falls through and you slip into a state of hopeless despair. You are leaking light from every angle. You are an open house with no door lock, allowing every passing spirit of confusion to walk right in and sit down at your table. The Bible speaks of this in Proverbs. A man without self-control is like a city broken into and left without walls. Think about that image for a second. A city without walls. Anyone can walk in. Any thief can steal your peace. Any spiritual enemy can set fire to your purpose. The scariest level of discipline is the process of rebuilding those walls, brick by brick, until nothing unauthorized can get inside. It is the moment you look at your own impulses, your desire to sleep in, your desire to eat garbage, your desire to argue, your desire to seek comfort, and you look at those desires like an outside invader. You say to them, "You have no power here." How many times have you let your body dictate what your spirit should do? Your body is lazy. Your physical shell wants ease. It wants food, rest, and distraction. But your spirit craves victory. Your spirit wants to conquer. There is a constant spiritual warfare taking place right inside your own mind every single morning. The moment your alarm rings, the war starts. If you hit snooze, you just lost the first battle of the day. You surrendered your territory to comfort, and you wonder why you feel defeated by noon. Look at the world around you in 2026. Everything is engineered to strip you of your focus. The short videos, the endless news cycles, the constant notifications. It is not an accident. It is a systematic design to keep your mind shattered into 1,000 tiny pieces. A fragmented mind cannot build an empire. A fragmented mind cannot pray with power. A fragmented mind cannot hold a magnetic, commanding presence. When you master the art of silence and total focus, you become an anomaly in a world full of addicts. While everyone else is twitching for their next hit of validation, you are standing still, calm, dangerous. Do you know what frightens people the most? It isn't a person who yells. It isn't a person who makes threats. It is the person who remains totally quiet while everything around them is burning down. It is the person who looks directly into the eyes of chaos and doesn't even blink. That is the high-value mindset. That is spiritual dominance. There are warning signs that you are currently losing this spiritual battle. Let us lay them out on the table right now. No sugarcoating. No gentle words. First warning sign. You talk about your plans before you execute them. Every time you open your mouth to brag about what you are going to do, you release the energy required to actually do it. You trade real accomplishment for fake applause. Second warning sign. You cannot sit in a quiet room for 30 minutes without reaching for a screen. If you cannot be alone with your own thoughts, your mind is a dangerous neighborhood. You are running from yourself. Third warning sign. You constantly seek the approval of people you don't even respect. You bite your tongue, you adjust your personality, and you pretend to be weak just so you don't make others feel uncomfortable. That is cowardice disguised as politeness. If any of these sound like you, stop scrolling through life like a ghost. Wake up. It is time to implement the 3 pillars of absolute mastery. These are not soft self-help tips. These are psychological and spiritual protocols designed to strip away your weakness and forge you into something unbreakable. The first pillar is the law of silent execution. From this moment on, your goals belong to God and yourself. Nobody needs to know what you are building. Nobody needs to know what time you get up. Nobody needs to know what books you are reading or what investments you are making. Let your success be the first time they hear about your strategy. When you move in silence, your enemies cannot plant traps in your path because they don't even know where you are walking. Silence preserves energy. Silence builds tension. Silence makes your presence heavy. The second pillar is emotional detachment from outcomes. You must reach a point where victory does not make you arrogant and failure does not make you weak. You operate on standard operating procedures, not weather conditions. Rain or shine, pain or pleasure. You do the work because it is who you are, not because of how you feel. When you disconnect your actions from your immediate emotional state, you become completely unpredictable to those who wish to see you fail. They can insult you and you move forward. They can ignore you and you move forward. They can take away your resources and you adapt and move forward. The third pillar is spiritual armor and fasting. You must discipline your physical vessel through sacrifice. Fasting is not just about skipping meals. It is about demonstrating to your spirit that your flesh does not run the show. When you can master your belly, you can master your tongue. When you can master your tongue, you can master your destiny. You must spend time in deep, uninterrupted solitude, connecting with the Almighty, laying down your burdens, and asking for divine strength to navigate the darkness of this world. Without spiritual grounding, discipline is just pride. And pride always comes right before the fall. Imagine where you could be 12 months from today if you actually listen to this. Imagine stepping into a room in 2027 with a mind completely free of brain fog, a body turned into a temple, a bank account built on honest, relentless effort, and a spiritual atmosphere so strong that negativity simply dissolves around you. Imagine looking back at this exact moment right now and saying, "That was the day I stopped playing small. That was the day I chose to become unstoppable." The alternative is terrifying. If you ignore this message, if you go right back to your comfortable habits, nothing changes. In fact, things will get worse. The world is getting faster, harder, and less forgiving. The weak will be crushed under the weight of their own distractions. If you do not choose the pain of discipline today, you will be forced to swallow the excruciating pain of regret for the rest of your life. You were not brought here by accident. You didn't click on this by chance. This is your wake-up call. Stand up right now in your spirit. Shake off the heavy, dark sleepiness that has been sitting on your shoulders. Clean out your space. Cut off the toxic, weak connections that drain your energy. Lock your door, get on your knees, and make a covenant with your future self. Declare that the soft version of you is dead. Father, give the person reading this the supernatural strength to break every chain of laziness, fear, and self-doubt. Fill their spirit with iron and fire. Grant them the wisdom to remain silent in a loud world, the courage to stand alone when necessary, and the absolute discipline to conquer their own mind. Surround them with protective light, and let their presence carry the weight of authority wherever they step. The shift begins right now, not tomorrow morning. Right now, walk into the dark with your head held high. Move like a ghost. Work like a giant. Win in absolute silence. If you are ready to claim this high-value, unstoppable energy and step into your true power, like this video right now to seal this commitment. Subscribe to join this brotherhood of silent achievers, and leave your mark in the comments below. Type Amen to seal this prayer and claim your power today.